Thank you. So currently I run all of these courses, and we're developing two of those. So we have a year zero film photography, which is a sort of starting point for people who are interested in an undergraduate degree, but not necessarily already with the skills and the experience in those areas. So film photography is a great way to get into undergraduate study. Then we have our BA film production and our BA television and media production courses at the Farnham campus. We also have a television course at Mason Studios, which I could also talk about if anybody's interested. The film production and television production courses run alongside each other on the Farnham campus. We have two film studios and two TV studios. It's a really vibrant and energetic environment. We have lots of students, and there's always things going on. We also have two postgraduate courses that are currently running, so our MA Filmmaking and MA Digital Media. Again, lively and vibrant courses running alongside of each other, and they also based at the Farnham campus. We are currently, actually later today, finishing up designing and sorting out the delivery of two new MAs, Experimental Film MA and an MA in Writing for Screen. These are designed very much with the future in mind, and looking at how things are going to shift and change in contemporary media. So writing for screen, for instance, includes looking at writing for the usual things, so film, television, but also for blogs, for gaming, for and Netflix shows, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of things going on there. I'm just going to skip a couple of slides. The film and television courses at the Farnham campus have wonderful industry links, and the film production course is accredited by an organisation called SELECT, which is the International Film Schools Federation. With that, we get an awful lot of fantastic access to various symposium, conferences, and materials for the students. We also have great partnerships with companies like Avid, ARRI, so ARRI make cameras and lights. We also have a really great relationship with symposia such as the School of Sound, which happens every 2 years. The Royal Television Society, often we do what's the word I'm looking for? Events. That's the word I'm looking for. We do events with the Royal Television Society. Last year we hosted it here on campus, just before our UK-wide lockdown. And the television students shot it live, and it was streamed on YouTube. So they were doing that as part of their learning, as well as attending the conference. And we have all sorts of other things going on as well. So what that does is that gives us access to contemporary industry experience alongside what we as staff do as well. So a lot of our staff still work in filmmaking, television production, and various other things that are linked to those. The specialist resources we have really help us to allow you as a student to develop those skills in a way that will actually help you when you're in the industry. And that includes all the usual stuff you would expect: cameras, lights, sound equipment, microphones. But we also have really amazing post-production facilities, which includes fully kitted out Avid suites. We have a 7.1.2 mixing suite, which really excites me as a sound person. The 0.2 by the end of 7.1.2 basically means we've got 2 speakers in the ceiling, so we can do some really interesting experimental work in there as well. As I mentioned before, we have 2 film studios and a television studio as well. So this next slide shows you an image top left of our old studio, but you can see the size of that. The other one is not dissimilar in size, it's a tiny bit smaller, but you can really work very well in those. In terms of graduates, we have all sorts of people working in the industry in all sorts of different areas. So we have people such as Gareth Edwards, who directed Rogue One. He's literally, I think 3 days ago, it was announced that he was working with John David Washington on a new project. I think it's called Love Story, which is a sci-fi film for Disney, which is fantastic news for him. We also have people working in other areas, such as in post-production sound, for instance. Adele Fletcher is a wonderful graduate who comes back to teach occasionally as well when she's not busy working on James Bond films. But then we also have people who've graduated from, in this case, from our undergraduate film course about 4 years ago, who's working in the accounts department. His name, Sky, keeps on popping up all over the place. We also have Hong Kao, whose new film Monsoon came out in September last year. It was done, post-production was done all in lockdown, and Monsoon is a fantastic film. If you haven't already seen it, I really highly recommend it. It's done amazing things on the festival circuit, and is doing Hong some pretty good, it's getting him some very good contacts. The editor on that project is also a UCA film production graduate. So that's Mark Towns. They've worked together quite a lot in the past, and I think they're continuing to work together on future projects. We also have people working in television who come out of our film and television courses. So I don't know if you're aware of a show called Bridgerton. For instance, we have 3 very recent graduates working on this in a sort of trainee capacity mostly, which is absolutely fantastic for them. What they can do then is they really get to grips with what the industry really means. And I know that talking to Phil, who's a sound trainee on the first season of Bridgerton, he's had an amazing time. And I think it is a testament to the course, or the courses, I should say, that we are able to prepare people so well for that kind of work. The other big news that we have at the moment is Kate Herron, who's another graduate of the film course, who is the director and executive producer on Loki, which is about to come out next month now, for Disney Plus. There are very many more, but I don't want to take up other people's time. The course essentially is to do with storytelling. So all the courses that are under my management at the moment are about storytelling, live action, through sound, through vision, and creating story and character on screen. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But I will pass you on to the next person now and stop sharing my screen and give people plenty of time. Thank you.
Right, okay, so I'm Jim Lefebvre. I'm one of the lecturers on the animation course and the BA and the MA animation course. And you're going to find actually a lot of shared stuff from what Karis was saying in terms of mentality and outlook and alumni. And I think that's possibly the nicest part of the UCA, which we all find as tutors. In terms of the course, the animation department is one of the longest running animation departments in the United Kingdom. So we've been going for the last 51 years. We've got BA honours, 3-year and 4-year, and we have a 1-year MA postgraduate. We have a very kind of wide-ranging approach to the films that we make. But what we're so kind of proud of is very much kind of our alumni, the Oscar-winning, BAFTA-winning, British Animation Award-winning alumni, which I'll touch on. But essentially, one of the most important points is that, you know, it's about developing your voice as a filmmaker as much as it is about learning the principles and the processes of animation. It is about storytelling, as Karis was saying, but it's discovering and finding out the, I guess, kind of what animation can do above and beyond just the movement and the color. We have fantastic range of of industry facilities, of industry connections, and of teaching staff. I would love to show you the show reels with sound and music, but I would massively encourage you to go to the Farnham Animation website, which you can go back through quite a few of the last kind of up to the 15 or 20 years of the awards which we've got, about the films that we've made. And what underpins us and makes us quite unique, I think, compared to quite a few other animation courses, is that although we absolutely focus on the principles of animation, in the first year, you'll be learning drawn animation, CGI, stop frame animation, but it's more than that. It's about the voice of the filmmaker, and there's no prescribed approach. There's no prescribed technique. There's no prescribed genre. It could be abstract, it could be narrative, it could be documentary. The purpose of the course is very much about showing you the principles, teaching you these massively transferable skills, but letting you find techniques that you really chime with, and that allow you to tell stories. We've got, the focus all the way through, even the fourth year, which is year zero, which is the first kind of foundation course. It's about showing you filmmakers, showing you directors. It's about showing you techniques and getting your hands on those techniques. And it's about your voice. It's about storytelling. The kind of technical stuff, for our course, we use Maya as our main CGI. We've got Autodesk Arnold as a renderer, and Blender, obviously, because that's a kind of free piece of software. But those are our kind of CGI aspects. For 2D, we've got TV Paint and Photoshop, but also equally hand-drawn animation with line testers. It's a really cross-technique kind of course. Stop frame, we've got Dragon Frame, which is industry standard. So with my job, I'm a commercials animation director, and I use every single one of these pieces of software in my commercial job, which is really nice. Obviously, Creative Cloud, the hardware we've got is Wacom Cintiqs, Macs and PCs. And as Kara said, the stores are insane. I mean, it's just the stuff which is there to be able to get to your fingertips. I suspect partly one of the reasons why you get so many amazing tutors on the course is because they haven't got access to these like in their day-to-day lives. And it's just so nice to be close to them. And speaking of kind of the students that have come through the course, over the 50 years, we've had people that have made films which are Oscar-winning films. We've got people that have made TV series. We've got people that have made commercials, music videos, and they've come through this course. And they, as I kind of touched on, the reason for their success is about them discovering techniques and their individual voice of storytelling. It's not about replicating what has been done before. And we push you to find and discover ways to tell stories that at the end of it, you emerge into the industry with a really distinctive approach. You have transferable skills. You absolutely do work with people in various different levels, but it's about you as the filmmaker. We've got an amazing campus. This is the Farnham campus. We're in the top right. It's an amazing place, but it's also an amazing place to have the community of people. As Kara said, we have so many students that go through into the world and come back and teach, whether or not they're visiting lecturers or whether they come in to teach stop frame or drawn animation. We're really proud of that. The kind of facilities we've got here, we've got spaces for stop motion, we've got spaces for rostrum cameras, we've got huge, great digital suites for CGI and for After Effects digital kind of workings. Sound, as Kara said, amazing sound facilities. And also what's quite interesting in the last kind of year or so, we're really working on cross-pollinating a lot of the courses, from teaching to sound to live action to animation. And we're firming up these connections, the kind of stuff that you do in the industry. Which is one of our massive focuses. I mentioned before, have a look at farnhamanimation.com. That really massively gives you a sense of the identity of the course. And obviously we've got kind of Twitter and Instagram, and you get a sense of the personality, the kind of filmmakers that kind of come out of the course. I mean, the teachers, the tutors, we have pretty much all of us are practicing filmmakers. Leslie, she's the PD of the entire sort of animation department. She's kind of experimental animation. We've got BAFTA winners, we've got British Animation Award winners, people that have been nominated for fantastic kind of stuff. All of us practicing lecturers, practicing filmmakers as part of the course, which spreads across to the tutors as well, to the technicians, stop motion, sound, sessional lecturers. When you're thinking about applying, it's really important that it's about drawing or mark making. It's important about kind of passion for exploring. For year zero and for the 3-year BA honours course, it really is just that interest in mark making, in movement, in colour, in sound. Obviously, there's the other aspect, which is the film grammar side. It's the storyboards. It's the presenting an idea, being able to talk about editing and sound when it kind of comes to making films. The lecture spaces are huge. We've got an awesome new lecture theatre. We've probably got sort of 3 or 4 different sized lecture theatres. Smaller spaces for presentations, for seminars, one-to-one tutorials. Like I say, Cintiqs, Wacoms, it's a great community. It's a community of people that you will travel through your commercial career or your independent artistic career together. Like Karis was saying, a lot of those people that she was talking about that have gone on to these bigger, they communicate with each other and they work with each other. That's one of the most beautiful aspects of this kind of course. Workshops, fantastic acting workshops, model workshops. They change from year to year depending on the influx of students. If it's lots of stop motion, if it's lots of CGI, that'll change. Fantastic guest lectures all across the industry, from independent artists, from kind of people like the Aardman you just saw, or Michael Dr. He's an ex-student, he won an Oscar. But it's not just those. We have a lot of kind of community, a lot of kind of industry people, companies that come through, which kind of leads on to another aspect of our course, which is studio visits and preparing you for the industry, talking to you about how it is to work in the industry. Like I've got 20 years of commercial kind of experience. So our viewpoint is of understanding some of the really basic things like invoicing and understanding how to communicate to people on that level. Studio visits, taking you through, obviously that's been slightly different this year, but we can bring you through into the industry for you to understand what the practices are. Festivals, massively keen. You end up making 3, 4, 5 films during your course. You enter festivals. You've got some snapshots here of some of the second year and third year students actually talking at festivals. But really important. This is where you actually meet your the industry face to face, your calling cards, your films. And we're part of the British Animation Awards as well, very kind of linked in with that. But at the end of the day, it's about the films. It's about the filmmakers. It's about, this is what's so great about being a tutor on the course, is just seeing you guys enter into learning about animation principles, learning about these skills, but growing as a filmmaker and emerging on the other side with the most fantastic range of films that, to be honest, we massively envy that we couldn't make. And it's about you as a group of students moving through into the industry. I've kind of rattled through that. I think I took 3 breaths. But visit the animation department, visit the kind of course. I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Visit kind of the course online. Any questions? Please do sort of drop us a line. I now have to hand over to, who's it? Andy.
Fabulous.
Treat it well.
Thank you, Jim. Right, let me just share my screen. Yeah, cool. Excellent. Right, so you should be seeing my presentation now. Yeah, one of the things I think about seeing other people's presentations is I'm always slightly envious of like the other courses. I just think, I want to go and study that. I want to go and do animation and make films, or I want to go and make films themselves. I think there's so much good stuff going on. So yeah, great to see the other presentations there. I'm Andy Bossum. I'm the program director for games at UCA, and I head up the undergraduate degrees for the BA Games Art, the BSc Games Technology, and the MA Games Design. I also set up and run a enterprise studio, which is a games incubator studio. Our undergraduate courses are very much kind of very keenly industry facing. And mostly kind of focusing on kind of, I suppose, the sort of the big entertainment part of the games industry. And our postgraduate MA Games Design is much more experimental and leads students looking in lots of different ways at how games technology and immersive technology can be experimented with. So there's lots of really interesting kind of diverse opportunities there to play and enjoy and make with games technology. Yes, we're based at Farnham. As I've pointed out, and Farnham, one of the unique parts about Farnham is it's right next to Guildford and London. And Guildford and London are the 2 largest games hubs in the UK and amongst the largest in Europe as well. So we're very much involved in the ecosystem of the games industry and the creative technologies industry. Conurbation is keenly sort of situated around what we call the southeast, where we are. We're very much kind of, as I was talking about industry facing, and we've been recognized for being up to date and relevant with relevant industry training by a kind of global accreditation with the Rookies, and the Rookies is based in Australia, and they've seen the kind of what we're up to here at Farnham and what we've been doing with the students, and they've really kind of it was really great to get that accreditation. So we're very proud to have that label for our games programs. Our staff have worked in many games industries, parts of the games companies, and worked on lots of different kinds of formats. And some of our team also continue to work in the games industry on live projects at the same time. I now write for Bloomsbury, and I'm currently working about the games industry and game design techniques. And so I'm also finishing off a book at the moment about UI, UX design for games, which I think is a very keen area. So if you're looking for niche areas where there's lots of opportunity, things like being a technical artist, which is where we're steering our BSc Games Technology, there's lots of opportunities there, and UI, UX design is probably some of the new rock and roll in games. So yeah, lots of great things going on. Ethos. So the ethos of what we do, I think, is very much keenly based around that. Yes, we are studying games, but we're actually leading our undergraduate, postgraduate students into being, adaptable artists and designers, being able to sort of consider different kind of creative projects and sort of respond to them in different ways. And the games technology and games software is a very highly transferable skill set. The softwares that the students get to learn about and get to use whilst they're with us, and this is just a sample of them, it's not everything that happens in the first year, but these softwares are used across many parts of the creative industries for all kinds of projects. So it gives a great foundation platform for graduates to go on and work in different areas. We have great studios with lots of high-end kit, and this was taken at an open day. It's one of my 4 game studios. We've also got a VR dev studio as well as the Incubate studio. And so we've got lots of great equipment and Cintiqs and dual monitor 4K setups and RTX graphics cards and all that kind of stuff to play with. Yes, we are very technology based, but we're still very keenly interested in traditional techniques in terms of design journals, sketchbooks, processing ideas, considering narrative, working our way through, the design processes, very much into anatomy studies as well. And we have life drawing. And this leads us through to, being able to sort of design really amazing, fantastical creatures, but having those discipline and that grounding leads us through being able to create, the strange things and the wonderful hyper real things that students, are really keen to make. And, what we see also of in the games industry, that lovely breadth between sort of indie and AAA, the kind of, extraordinary range of work. We look at different kinds of industry workflows. Lots of concept art has a lot of 3D workflows in there, so lots of paint overs. We definitely, into our students being deep into the research of their projects and considering what it is they're making, what it's for. But there's a lot of freedom in the projects to explore the project briefs in the kind of artistic, expressive way that the student wants to. So we don't have any house styles. I'm very keen for students in the solo or in their group work to explore games and what they want to sort of bring forward through from their own sort of ideas and so on. In overview, if I just briefly talk about undergraduate with the games art and the games technology, there is some co-delivery. We bring both cohorts together for things like designing gameplay, thinking about 3D modeling and texturing. And where we've got the kind of unique selling points, the USP of the different courses, the BSc is still a maker's degree. It's not a hardcore programming degree. So there's still lots of making and artistic opportunity to express yourself. But there's definitely more a lean towards working in games engines. So there's both Unity and Unreal. And the BA is much more concept art focused and focused within concept in 2D and 3D. So depending on what you're interested in, where you want the steer of that to be, if you want to be making more game prototypes, game slices, and so on, but understanding how to, make the content for that, then the BSc is probably a better choice. But if you're much more kind of concept focused, then leaning towards the BA. As I was saying, we're very, lots of close links to industry. We've had a fabulous range of guest lectures this year. Every year we bring in new different lecturers. from industry, from very different parts of industry as well. So from, you know, narrative games. Yesterday we had Kadeen James, who's a leading creative technologist, come in to talk about immersive technologies and how they're being used. And we've had, you know, leading concept artists, VR developers, lead engineers. I think I've got a repeated slide there. Let's go past that one. Don't know where that came from. But very much at the heart of this, I think, is ownership. Like any art discipline, I think it's really important. Games is complex. There's lots to learn, lots to figure out. And actually, yeah, we have studios open into the evening. We have lots of kind of supportive peer reviews within our workflows. We also make time to remember to play and understand what it is that we enjoy, and think about mechanics and games in other contexts. We've got lots of board games within our studios and card games. And we always make time in the week where there's sort of breakout time to sort of, you know, sort of just have that brain space to sort of enjoy the subject as well. Every term we do game jams. Game jams are an excellent way to sort of find a new way of expressing ideas. There's no, you know, pressure for it to be aligned to marks, and we set a brief. This one was one shot, and we've had all sorts of different game jams over a couple of days. You can get to experiment with different art styles, try out different mechanics, work with different people, and these are things that are also seen very favorably in industry. You know, you see a lot of industry devs still get involved in game jams, so it's a great thing to talk about. There's another one stuffed. So lots of fun to be had there in terms of that kind of collegiate response to very fast turnaround, quick briefs, and they're often also sponsored by industry, so they're often sort of giving us loads of game keys to hand out to the winners and things like that. So there's lots of fun there. We're always looking beyond the studio. Yes, developing your art skills and your portfolio is part of it, but actually the games industry is very social. And you know, being where we are in Guildford and next to London, we make sure that we try and attend and have a presence at a lot of the main gaming events, like EGX is a really, really huge one that happens annually. We make sure our students go out and get as much swag as possible, and make sure that they network and they show, you know, developers their work. We were also, Guildford has its own games festival, and we were one of the festival partners and sponsors last year. And so very much lots of links back into industry. We also try and do trips abroad. And, you know, that's something that, you know, we're really excited about. We always try and look beyond the native borders of games. What are people doing with creative technology and ideas? And so we often go to like the Transmediale in Berlin, which is an arts and digital culture festival. Lots of amazing work there, as well as it being a fascinating city. So we're always looking beyond games, so games aren't just endlessly sort of self-referencing. In terms of graduate progression, we see our graduates going on into all the main areas and areas beyond games. And so there's a whole range of different kind of careers. And this is just a sample, this is not all of them, that our graduates go on to, and lots of leading companies as well. And some of these companies are VFX companies. Some of these are games for simulation in terms of what we might call serious games or applied games. Some of these companies here are also VR developers, and like Zappa, they do a lot of augmented reality. So it's a really great range of kind of potential careers going beyond. And we see lots of great, you know, artwork coming out from students in terms of whether they've got freelance Patreon careers or going to work as character artists at leading international game studios, or as, you know, looking at indie kind of development and like pixel art games and things like that. And so we see this guy, Jake, went on to work at a leading award-winning VR game studio. So we see loads of great graduate progression there, lots of great opportunities for our students. And as I mentioned before, I set up the Games Incubator Studio. When I arrived at UCA, I was amazed at the quality of the kind of game prototypes that were coming out of the third year, you know, the final studies, and out of the MA. And so I set up the studio because if some of these projects had a bit more support, then they could launch their own projects, their own indie projects to market. And I think this is a really exciting point. Some people are much more entrepreneurial than others, and the opportunity to actually have that time to sort of breathe more life into a project and then launch it. And so I set up the Incubator Studio, and yeah, always people are just drawing and smiling It's such a nice place to dev. And we've seen our, devs from the studio win national competitions like Transfuser, which is a major competition in the UK with their Project Sam. You see things like CatTap going to iOS and Android. That's at hundreds of thousands of downloads. It's hugely popular if you like playing as a naughty cat. That's the game for you. We've had games launched to Steam as well. And we also take our games and make sure that we have them at the main festivals like Rezzed and stuff. So they're actually out on the developers floor, getting played, getting feedback, bringing in that kind of iterative loop on how we can improve things within the development process. If you want to find us online, UCA Games is on Twitter, which is like one of the main platforms for games developers. So at UCA_CJ, you can find us on Twitter, and you can get a kind of snapshot of the life of the course, some of the work, the ongoing work that students are making, the things that we're interested in. And if you want to see some of our show reels, both postgraduate and undergraduate show reels, if you look on Vimeo, just put in UCA Games and you'll find us there, and there's loads of great work on show there. So I think that's me done for the speed run of what is games. I look forward to your questions, and thank you for listening.
I mean, what we have here, you've heard a lot from colleagues who said all sorts of amazing things about the programs. So my presentation, of Priyanka will be able to share it, usually just says a variety of things introducing myself, which is significant because obviously as the head of school, I influence what we do. So if you show the next slide, Priyanka, what we've just seen. Yeah, so basically in terms of myself, I've done a lot of stuff in the industry, meaning television and film industry, and and here are some examples of the work I've done. Some sort of award-winning film work, but also books and things. There's more. And basically, next slide, Priyanka. So very briefly, I mean, fundamentally, the school on the whole, as you've seen, we typically focus on practice, but very much our courses are also theory infused, and not just that really, but we want our students to be able to go into the world and have tools in order to receive and get interesting jobs and just survive, also maybe setting up their own businesses. So just briefly, let's go quickly. I mean, you know already about the courses that we do, and a couple of colleagues spoke very eloquently about them. So let's just go quickly through this, Priyanka. Another one. Another slide, please. Okay, I want to really talk about our postgraduate courses, because at the minute that's something that we've had a few of these going. So colleagues from MA Animation and Games Design are here. But I also have launched new courses that I'd like you to consider, which is MA Experimental Film, MA Screen Acting and Performance, and MA Writing for Screen. The MA Digital Media, MA Filmmaking have also been going for a while. And basically, in all of these courses, our special kind of attitude is to give students a chance to develop their creative voices in terms of telling their stories and stories of the people that they want to, for example, in terms of issues, foreground. So please bear in mind these courses, and we can also answer questions about that. Okay, let's have another one, Priyanka, thank you so much. So in Farnham, we have a variety of courses. As you know, Farnham the Farnham campus is a very, very friendly campus. It's very pretty. There are wonderful walks around. We have wonderful student accommodation, brand new. So we invite you, come to Farnham. Let's have another one. Okay, just various images from Farnham. Maidstone, this is our something that we are very proud of, because our university is really the only course in the country, the only university in the country which has a direct relationship with a proper working independent studio. And so our students, in terms of work placement, have got an opportunity to have the experience of the actual professional productions, as well as doing their own in the studio. Yes, no, our various amazing graduates, as you can see, these are, you know, Karen Millen, fashion designer, Tracy Emin, Gareth Edwards, who's director of Star Wars, Will McGregor, and many others. So hopefully you'll be the next lot of famous graduates that we can be proud of. Okay, as colleagues mentioned, we very much are proud of our connections to the industry and our various, we sort of linked to the key core amazing institutions in the UK. If you come to the university, through the university, you too will be able to get the connection, yes. And some others, obviously you see BBC, ITV, Channel 4, and so on. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's kind of it in terms of the brief presentation. You know, Priyanka, you can kill the sharing. Priyanka is here. Priyanka can say a few words, perhaps being having a direct experience of being an international student. She's now working also as my assistant, as one of the two job share school officers, but she very much has had extensive experience of being a student in the UK, from the undergraduate to master's to PhD. She will be hopefully submitted her PhD thesis fairly soon. And she's now getting experience of trying to learn how higher education works through working with me at the UCA. So Priyanka, if you can just briefly talk about your experience for the students that might be of interest.
Hello everyone, as Agnieszka introduced me already, my name is Priyanka and I'm PhD candidate at UCA. My journey started back in 2011 when I came from India as an undergraduate student. So my journey has been quite long. I'm about to complete 10 years in this country. So I went on to do my undergrad, master's, PhD. I'm about to finish my PhD fairly soon, as Agnieszka already said. So yes, of course, my journey has been filled with ups and downs, but mostly ups. I learned a lot. I think the main thing which I learned, which a lot of students come from different countries deal with, is to cope up with different culture, to live in a different environment. And I think I, as a person, as a scholar, I learned a lot. And if I look back at my journey, it is quite unbelievable, because when I came as a clueless 18 years old, I didn't know anything. I was just surviving on my home cooked food sent by my mother. She literally packed 2 months' food somehow. I don't know how though. So that journey has been quite long now. I'm almost 28 years old, about to get my PhD, and that too from a wonderful university, UCA. UCA has extensive support system. The faculty is amazing. My own director of studies, as you just met, Agnieszka Petrovska, she's herself an award-winning filmmaker. So you can see that the faculty is amazing, and it is very supportive. And I always say that it was the best decision for me that I came to this country, and I learned how to use and develop my voice, and that took me very far to different conferences worldwide. I even went to Poland as well to speak on my research topic. So yes, so amazing, and everyone should think about coming to UK and of course UCA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. I think it's really important, because obviously for the students, it's always this anxiety, what will it all mean? And I think what at the school, we're very committed to making sure as much as we can. Obviously some things we can't control, like the whole COVID pandemic. But even within this, our institution, we've been working safely quite a lot of the time. Sometimes ahead of other institutions. At the minute, as you know, the UK is one of the safest countries in the world in terms of COVID. So we are very confident that we will offer you an exciting form of education, but also very safe. So that, which is very, very important right now, obviously.
I'm a member of Directors UK, which Karis just mentioned, and it's certainly the case that the film industry and the TV production industry, which is where most of our jobs in the UK are located, around 50% of jobs in the screen industries are in film and TV production, which has been permitted to carry on by our government. So while we had national lockdowns to try and suppress the movement of the population around the country, production was permitted to continue under very safe and strict regulation, and we've been doing so at Maidstone TV Studios. So I'd love to be able to show you a map to show you where we are. We're actually located within Kent, which is just south of London, about 50 miles outside of London, in a real regional hub, which is becoming a centre for production in the southeast of the UK, where 70% of the jobs are located, and about 80% of the film and TV production in the UK is in London and the southeast. So there are about 8 studio developments which are popping up around the London area, and we're nestled right in the middle of that. They're probably creating around 2 million square foot of studio space for production, and around 30,000 jobs are coming in the next 2 years. So there's a real escalation in the production environment, which is generated by demand from companies like Netflix and Amazon, which are really promoting this streaming boom, which is seeing our industry and our discipline have a real sort of golden era at the moment. It's a real boom for studio production. Maidstone Studios is the largest independent HD TV facility in the country. We have 2 stages, a 6,000 square foot stage and a 12,000 square foot stage. And they're looking forward to their busiest year this year, which is great for us because our students get work experience opportunities on those shows. So within 2 weeks of starting their undergraduate degree, we had students working on a production with BBC Studios, which is going to air at the moment on Friday evenings on a primetime slot on BBC One, which is one of our largest channels, and I'm sure you know the BBC brand around the world. So that's very exciting for our students, because before they've even, let alone graduated, before they've even got halfway through their first year, they've got professional credits under their belts, and then they're moving into not just entry-level jobs in industry after university, but they're working through into more mid-level jobs. They're starting to align themselves with departments and find real progression routes, having identified exactly what it is they'd like to do in industry. The TV production degree is Screen Skills Select accredited. Screen Skills is the national body which identifies those courses who are best placed to position you for work-ready status in industry. So we're very excited with that. It also gives us all sorts of other benefits, like industry insight sessions. We have opportunities for students to go to conferences and events and to hear from industry professionals outside of what the course already provides. So that's a really exciting thing for us.
Okay, can I, we have like a minute and a half. So can I just say to the students, there's some questions in the chat which I answered. And obviously, the big question is, in terms of the postgraduate degrees, to what extent do you have to have a relevant undergraduate degree? It obviously depends. If for maybe games and animation, it probably is helpful. However, for other courses such as MA Experimental Film, MA Writing, MA Filmmaking even, we welcome people from very different backgrounds. In fact, very often these are the best students. So we want some evidence of creativity, obviously, visual creativity, but you can create a portfolio by with your phone, smartphone, doing pictures and this, that, and the other. And just in terms of writing a very small sample, and we'd be delighted to welcome you. And yes, as I was also mentioned, in terms of COVID, there's some questions about COVID. At the minute, we are heading for a complete, in the UK, opening up of everything on the 21st of June. Obviously, we don't know, but everything, all the signs are good. So in terms of the getting work experience, we are confident that we will be able to provide that in the next academic year.
Okay, so does Annie still have any last question or something?
Yeah, we're just waiting for some more questions here actually, because I think from the Facebook, there's one question as well. It's asking for the portfolio about the animation. I'm not sure for the animation course. Well, the student didn't mention whether it's bachelor degree or the master degree, but for the animation, do we ask him for any portfolio with the application?
Yes. So the thing with the animation course for the BA honours, well, there's year 0, which is kind of like a foundation year, and then there's the 3-year course, which goes straight into year 1. Submit a portfolio, and if you can make sure that there's observational drawing, mark making, it's about your passion. You will learn the skills of animation when you get on the course. For the MA in animation, as Ignatius says, it's imperative you have experience in animated filmmaking. Making short films from start to finish, because that MA year is about digging really deep into your voice as a filmmaker. So you have to have animation experience. But yes, a portfolio application it's just great for you and it's great for us. We want you on the course.
Do you ask him for any interview before, well, with the portfolio or without the interview?
There's no face-to-face interview as such, that you go through the application process. If you want to chat to us, absolutely get in contact with us. And if you are in the UK, come and visit us. But there's no face-to-face specific kind of thing in play at the moment.
Thank you, Jim. There's another question from the chat box. Could you please tell us more about the film industry link with link of UCA? What opportunities do UCA students can take advantage of it?
As we've all said in different ways, we have extensive film and television links through our various contacts of sort of BAFTA. We have all sorts of things. I hand it over to Caris, but we also have a partnership with Edinburgh Television Festival, and through that partnership, we have been introducing students to a variety of professionals and companies. We have had probably since January, we've had about 20 industry talks from professionals and representatives of companies at the film and television program. And that means that the students are directly invited to also contact these professionals themselves. So there's plenty of opportunities of a variety of kinds. Caris, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, the other thing that I can add to that is that we also, like the animation course, we've been around for a long time. On the film course is 60 years old. So we have 60 years worth of graduates who are working in the industry. One of the things that we do at the end of every year is we invite some of those back to talk to the current students and form bonds and links. And in this case, I think this year we had that session last week, and I know that there are 8 undergraduate students who have got some work experience out of those graduates, which is a really amazing thing to do, is to feed back into that process. And we do that every year. So alongside all the other things that we do, that kind of is the cherry on the cake. It's a really nice way to feed back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So by the way, there's another questions about English. Actually, the student asking, apart from IELTS, what other English language examination do you require? Do you accept?
Okay, we accept many other language examinations apart from IELTS, like Pearson, TOEFL, IBT, and then Trinity. We also accept some online entry tests like a language research online version and an IELTS indicator. Yeah, so we know still in some countries still cannot take the IELTS exam in IELTS center. So if they prefer to do online, they can choose IELTS indicator or language cert. Okay.
Right, I think we cover a lot today, and thank you very much for today, and it's so informative. And well, just all the dear students, if you are interested for UCA for application, please contact UCA directly, or you can also contact with IAE, so we can help you for your applications as well. And I think there's one final question here. Portfolios are required in hard copy or a presentation format? Or
no hard copy. So I can say definitely no hard copy. So your portfolio can be either a link or some other kind of electronic portfolio sent, for example, through WeTransfer or anything else of this nature. And I know that, can I just say again, because I even had a big discussion with Lisa about this, the head of our international office. Please, we have to ask for some portfolio. You understand that? We have to ask for some evidence of creativity. We can't just say, come on in. However, we are all all the staff you've met today, we are very enthusiastic about seeing the potential of the student. So your portfolio can be fairly simple, and you need to focus on just demonstrating simply your creativity and your enthusiasm. We look for people who are prepared to work hard and have a lot of fun with us. So please don't obsess about the portfolio. No hard copy, simple link, simple, some kind of, if you have pictures, if you don't want to put online, you know, people do all kinds of things, submit through, as I say, all kinds of ways. We will look at it. It will not be in your way. If you want to come, and if you're enthusiastic and creative, then in simple ways, we will welcome you.
Thank you very much. I think that's it for today, and we appreciate you being here, and we will have a